it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video is step number 5 in our week-long spring crochet along where we've been crocheting the Mama chick. Now if you're looking for the videos 1 through 5, you can find those in my playlist here on YouTube, and you can also find that pattern link that has all the patterns and the videos all together, and I'll put that pattern link down in the notes underneath this video. For today's video, step 5 in our spring crochet along, this is our last video to finish up our Mama chick, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can stuff your Mama chick. The first way is just to make a little bit of stuffing. I made a little pouch out of a nylon. I stuffed it and I just put it in the head portion of my chick. And then I can put all of the baby chicks inside. And if I'm going to use this as a gift to give it away, I usually make 4. I make that same kind of pouch like we made when we did the baby chicks, and I stuff them inside. And that's one way that you can stuff your Mama chick and have a play set. Another way is just to stuff your whole chick. You can just fill your whole chicken with your polyester fiber fill like this, and just stuff that all up inside your chicken as much as you want, and then sew it closed. And that works great, and I'm going to show you how to sew it closed in just a minute. But what I'm going to do with my chick is I'm going to show you how to make a pillow form that you can slide up inside your Mama chick, and then the stuffing won't show. To make a pillow form for this chick or any stuffy that you want to make, you're going to need some fabric. And what I like to buy is either bandanas, because they're only 99 cents at my local Hobby Lobby, and you'll need 2. You can also use the fat quarters. They're usually around $1 as well, or any fabric that you have on hand. You can use an old dress shirt or any fabric like a pillowcase that you have on hand that you want to use. It's a great idea to reuse fabric that you're going to just toss out. All right, and I chose this pink because I do have a little bit of pink on here, and I thought it would be nice for the pillow form. You're also going to need a needle and thread. And I'm going to be hand sewing mine, but when we do the sewing portion, you can certainly do that on a sewing machine if you want to. You're going to need your fabric scissors, and then you'll also need some sort of a pen or pencil to mark where we're going to sew. Lay out your chick or whatever shape that you're wanting to make a pillow form for. And I've got my tail tucked in, I've got my nose tucked in, because those are not going to be stuffed. And so also the top of the head is not stuffed either. And so I want to make sure we just draw around, and you'll notice I'm drawing quite a bit bigger, about a 1/2 inch around my stuffy, around my chicken. Make sure you've got 2 layers of fabric. And you just sort of draw around the area you want to make your stuffy out of. That's the shape that I'm going to do. If I was doing a heart or a circle or whatever I was doing, I would draw around it and try to have about a 1/2 inch bigger, because when we sew it and stuff it, we want it to be able to fit up inside. The next thing we need to do is pin it. I pinned just a few pins, 4, and that's to hold the front and the back pieces together. And then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to cut, but you'll notice I'm going to cut bigger than what I drew. And what I usually do is I'll go around and sort of get rid of a lot of the extra fabric out of the way. And it just makes it just a little bit easier to work with, okay? So I'm not cutting close, I'm just cutting around, getting rid of that extra fabric that can be cumbersome. All right, so that's out of the way. And so here's my shape, and it needs a little bit more cutting. So we'll go around, and I try to keep a little bit extra fabric, like that. Here's a shape I need to cut out. Now, I'm going to be keeping the bottom opened. So I'm going to not sew across this bottom portion. And so what I need next is to thread my needle and thread. I'm using white so that you'll be able to see my stitches, but I'm using just a basic polyester yarn, and it works great. Now, if you're going to sew yours on your sewing machine, go ahead and take it over to your sewing machine and sew around the edge right to the inside of where we drew our line. And since we're going to be hand sewing, we're going to leave the bottom open. So I'm going to start here. And what I usually do is I'll go in, make sure you go through both thicknesses because we're sewing it together. And I do that extra little loop there, and that just keeps it in place. And then I'm going to make small stitches right to the inside of that line that I drew. Make sure our yarn, or our thread, I keep saying yarn, used to working with yarn, doesn't get tangled or knotted. This needle, or this pin's bugging me a little. I'm going to go ahead and take that one out. You can add more pins if you're doing a bigger project if you want to. I'm just not. It's what works best for you. All right, and so I'm going to continue and sew all the way around my whole shape till I get back over here, stitching right to the inside of where I drew that line. And one thing to keep in mind is it does not have to be perfect. This is going to be on the inside, and just hold our stuffing so it doesn't come out of our mama chick. All right. So I'm just making small stitches. I'm going to work around my whole chick, and then I'll show you how to stuff it and close up your pillow form. I've stitched all the way around my mama chick, leaving the bottom open because that's where we're going to put the stuffing. But before we do that, when you make a pillow form for a shape, there's some things that will help it lay better. If you have a curved edge like this, you want to make a few snips in the fabric like this, and that will help it when you flip it out. Now be careful not to cut your area where you sewed. Okay, another thing that will help is if you have outside corners, it's a good idea to clip those off at an angle. That will help those lay better when we flip them out. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut this one too, even though it's not a sharp corner. It just removes that extra fabric so it lays better. And then the last thing you'll probably want to do is when you have an inside corner, you'll want to clip that fabric like that so that when you turn it out, you have a nice crisp corner. And those are just some things that will help your pillow form lay better when we go to put it in. Now I have some thick fabric. Let me move that thread over. Right here. So I'm going to clip some of this extra fabric off. And it is a curved edge, so I'm going to go ahead and make a couple of just snips in the fabric so that it lays nice. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is flip it over. Now where I stopped sewing, I went ahead and left my thread attached because I ended up adding some more because I ran out up here. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and make a couple of snips in the bottom just to make that easier as well. All right, so now I think it's all ready. I've done my outside corner snips, my inside corner snip here, outside here, and then a few snips on the curved edge. That's just something that I learned that will help it lay better when we flip it over. All right, so let's flip it over. Use your fingers, gently push on those corners. There we go. Here's this other one. Alrighty, there's our corner we snipped. Here's our curved edges. And now we're going to just stuff this baby as full as we can get it. When you're working with a fabric that doesn't have a lot of stretch, you're not going to get as much, stretch. But you're also going to get a stuffy or a pillow form that's going to hold its shape. So it depends on what kind of fabric that you're using, how much stuffing you're going to put inside. I want mine to be nice and stuffed tightly so my chicken or my mama chick is nice and fat. All right, that's a good amount of stuffing. All right, I'm going to grab a couple more pins here because I want to pin the bottom shut in order to close it. Now I've got my thread here still attached. Here's the bottom, and I'm just going to turn those edges. And I'm going to use a pin and pin it. This way I'm not fighting with the edge, trying to get it to close when I'm whip stitching it closed. That's stuffing in there. All right, let me grab one more pin. Oh, that's a bent one. Probably went through my sewing machine. All right, so now we're going to... Still works great. All right, so there's the stuffy, and now we're going to close it. And all we do to close it is stitch some whip stitches. So I'm going to turn it up like this. My yarn's already attached. If your yarn's not attached, then you can just attach it by going underneath with a knot. All right, and so I'm just going to begin stitching whip stitches. We want this to stay put, but remember, it doesn't have to be beautiful because it's going to be on the inside of our chick, and then we're going to sew it shut. And I'll show you how to do that when we get the stuffy all put inside of it. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and pull that pin out. Put that back over there. And I'm just going to go along the bottom here where the opening is and close up the bottom of my mama chick pillow form, working all the way across that opening. Make sure that's all meeting nicely and just move my pin up. And I'm just going to continue stitching those whip stitches all the way across. I completed sewing across the bottom. I made a knot, and I'm just going to take my needle and go up into that stuffing, push it through, and that's just going to keep the knot on the inside. And then we'll just clip that. All right, so now I have my mama chick pillow form, and we're going to put it inside the mama chick. Now when you look at it, it looks like it's too small, right? But it's really not. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put the head up in there first, and then ease it in the other side, making sure those edges are where they belong. And see, there's our mama chick. All right, now we're going to close the bottom of the actual chick. And so you're going to need to get yarn that's the same color that you finished with and your yarn needle. And we're going to close it pretty much the same way. So we'll put it together Leave that out a little bit, and we'll just whip stitch across. And then I'm going to put that string inside. And the reason I'm going to do that, there's another string there. I'll have to come back and weave that in later. But the reason I'm going to do that is then I don't have to weave that in later. And all I'm going to do, now if you would prefer, you can single crochet this closed or slip stitch this closed, however you want to do it. I just think it works great just to whip stitch it closed with matching yarn. And I just do one on each stitch, pull it snugly, and you can pin this if you're more comfortable doing it that way. Now because I chose pink for my pillow form fabric, you'll see some pink coming through, but that's okay since my Momma Chick is striped. I'm okay with that. You could use white or yellow or any color that you want to. So I'm just whip stitching her closed across the bottom here. All right. She's nice and snug, and we'll just weave this in. Going up through, making sure we stay within that same color. We don't want to weave it up to the yellow and have this purple show through. And I just do it a whole bunch of times because I just know this is going to be played with and I want it to stay put. Alrighty. So here's my completed Momma Chick. She's got a pillow form inside of her, so her stuffing's going to stay in place. And it doesn't matter which style you choose, one to put the chicks inside or just to use stuffing without a pillow form. Momma Chick is fun to make and also fun to play with.